This is Focus with Jack Caudill.
Good evening, I'm Jack Caudill. Welcome to this month's edition of Focus. This month we're talking about the Rapid City Human Relations Commission. Three guests with us to talk about that. Malcolm Chapman is the coordinator of the commission. He's been in that position since January of this year. Karen Mortimer is the chair of the Human Relations Commission. Lloyd LaCroix, also a member of the commission. He is also a Pennington County Commissioner in District 2. A little background before we go. Rapid City Human Relations Commission was established by a city ordinance here in Rapid City. Now, according to that ordinance, the purpose of the commission is to acknowledge discriminatory practices and their effects, to recognize the rights of all persons, to prevent, investigate, mediate, and prohibit those discriminatory practices, protect people from unfounded charges of discrimination, encourage the resolution of complaints, and to inform and to educate. Malcolm, we're going to start to you after all of that. In reality, what is the driving force behind what you guys are doing?
I think it's really about respect. You know, how do we create a climate in this community that's more conducive to respecting that which is different than you? And I think that with the Human Relations Commission, or reimagining the Human Relations Commission, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to root out discrimination when we can, mediate those problems when they come up, and if necessary, then they need to go to someplace else if we're not able to handle them here locally.
Karen, as you look at it, what do you see as the main purpose behind the Human Relations Commission here in town?
Well, I echo Malcolm's words, but we've taken kind of a new look at the HRC. We've combined the Human Relations Commission with MOA, the Minalusaha Okola Kichiape Ambassadors. That means Rapid City Circle of Friends in Lakota. And so what our goal is to really, our mission and vision is a BEAM, to B-E-A-M, BEAM. And it stands for Bridge Cultures, Educate Ourselves and Others, Advocate and Model Respectful Behaviors. And so through those kind of four tenets, we hope to provide Rapid City with a new chance to look at itself and each person individually.
Lloyd, how do you see this commission and what it's doing here in town?
Well, as Karen just said, I think it's a big part of its education. You know, I was part of when it was with J.J. Davis that helped bring it back forward, the Human Relations Commission, way back probably 07, 08, and so they worked on it through then, and then it dies down and slows down, and Karen and MOA and Malcolm come up, and it's more about educating the public and teaching and learning. And as they say, the more you know, the more you are. The better we do. So I mean, that's the biggest part about it, is we're going to really dig in and do some more education and get to know people more.
Why is this needed here? I mean, what are we seeing in the community? Why is there a need for this here?
Why? Because I think we've had some troubles past in our community. We have. I mean, definitely. And we've come a long ways, but we can always do better. And I think the more we educate ourselves, the better we're going to do. And the more we know about each other, the less judgments we have against each other.
Karen, why do you see that this is needed here in Rapid City?
Well, the work that we've been doing, the MOA has been around for about 7 years now. And the problem that we've always said that we're addressing is the lack of or broken relationships between the Native and non-Native community. And so we're pretty straightforward about that. There's a need for, as Lloyd said, to build relationships. And one of the things we also often say is that history and place matter, because history and place tell us a lot about what happened in the past and how that past informs our future. But we've also say that relationships matter. And in fact, I think we would say relationships are probably the key. And we've been working on developing relationships. We've always maintained a group that is 50% Native and 50% non-Native. And we've developed some amazing relationships, friendships, and collaborations. So it's really needed because probably of history and place.
Malcolm, how do you see the need for this year. What do you see around town?
I echo the same things that Karen and Lloyd both brought up. And Karen said relationships. I started off talking about respect. I'm going to say trust. I mean, these broken relationships over a period of time is because there's been a lack of trust. There's been broken trust over the years. And I think what we're trying to do in reimagining this is to build trust. We constantly say that we change at the speed of trust. The more that I trust, as Lloyd said, the more that I know you, the more that I trust, there's less judgment. There's a real need for this. And that's not just because of the climate today. This is forever work. This work doesn't stop. I mean, this is forever. We will continue to do this work. Folks after us will continue to do this work, and hopefully we're building something in this community that will serve all of us well and serve into the future as well.
Karen, let's talk about the group that you've been with a long time. I'm going to try to get this name right. Apologize if I don't.
It's okay.
Minaluzahan Okola Kichiape Ambassadors. I think I'm fairly close there, if not. Yes. But that group's been around a long time. Tell me a little bit about that group. And they merged after a task force. How did those two groups come together, the Human Relations Commission and that group?
Okay, great. First of all, you did a great job.
Okay.
And when this group named itself about 5 or 6 years ago, named it the Minaluzahan Okola Kichiape Ambassadors, I thought, this is difficult. This is difficult to say. How are we going to go through our process moving forward with this difficult name? And in truth, it's difficult work. So it's okay if you mess it up every now and then, because we learn from that. So we have been doing, as I said, we started out back in about 2014 with some grants, a Bush Innovation Grant, and have since been funded by a variety of grants throughout the last few years. And our work has been to do work in the community, to bring people together, to learn together. We have a lot of detail that we could talk about, but basically this work has really been going well, but it was grant funded. And we said, we really want this work to sustain itself and stay in Rapid City for a very long time, as Malcolm said, forever work. Well, at the same time, the mayor was looking at reimagining the Human Relations Commission. So while a task force was named to do this work, MOA was also looking at how we can make this work more sustainable. I had the honor to be on that task force as well as another one of the MOAs, and the fit just came together beautifully, and we developed a public-private partnership. We've signed an MOU with the city of Rapid City, and we're not even quite a year into it, but it's pretty exciting.
Now, you said you were on the task force that created kind of the new Human Relations Commission.
Yes.
When all of that input came in from people, what did you guys hear from the people in town that they wanted to see a Human Relations Commission do, or maybe not do?
I think the task force, one of the things we were really focused on is that this body had more to do than just receive complaints and deal with the complaints. That piece is still extremely important. We believe all voices should be heard in a fair manner. But the task force itself thought there's more work to do. We have work to do in the community to do the kinds of things that MOA and other groups in the community have started as well. Educating, advocacy, trying to bridge cultures. And so the merger was a natural fit to what the task force wanted.
Malcolm, as you got the information from the task force, how does that mold what you guys are doing today?
I think very much so. I think it's foundational to the work. We describe this work being really in 3 buckets. One bucket being the Human Relations Commission, how those complaints come into the city, how we mediate, how we listen. You know, Karen said that everyone should be heard. Not just heard, but listened to as well. So we are doing that in reimagining thinking of how do we do outreach and to build trust and let people know that the city is really engaged in solving some of these problems. So that's the first bucket. The second bucket is really the MOA bucket, which is a proactive bucket. How do we create gatherings in the community where people can come together, to be together, to learn together. And then the third bucket is really about, we're not the only ones doing this work. I mean, this work is done by other groups in the community as well. How do we partner with them when necessary? How do we learn from them? How do we share best practices? So those are the three buckets, and I think that was really spelled out almost in detail from the task force and the work that they did.
All right, we got to take a break. We talk about building trust and relationships. How do you go about doing that? We'll take a look when we return with this month's edition of Focus. I'm Jack Caudill. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus, talking about the Rapid City Human Relations Commission. Karen Mortimer is the chair of that commission. Karen, talking about healing relationships, a difficult thing to do when some of that mistrust is gone for a long, long period of time. How do you actually get down and do that and change those attitudes?
Well, it's, as you said, it's difficult, and it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. I think we've done things informally where we actually just get around a table and eat together and get to know one another, which is really critical. People who are different than we are, people who we haven't met before. We also have chosen to kind of start with a lot of leadership. So we've had leaders in the community who then lead by example. So we think that that has been a good formula as well. And then we are collaborating very intentionally because people like to get together, do things together. So we've looked at some things, for example, the Black Hills Powwow, the Wachipi. So many people in Rapid City have never been to the powwow. They don't really know about the powwow. They actually feel like they're not really welcome if you're not native. And so we had relationships built with the powwow, with the Wachipi board, and we have developed all sorts of ways to bridge cultures. We've had Wachipi 101. We had a great plan for this year where we were going to have docents bring people together and actually help them get into the powwow and talk about the dances as they were going along, and then do some social things with some of the tribal people who have come in. It's a remarkable, wonderful gem of a huge economic driver in our community as well. So when we come together and work together and play together, things can change.
Lloyd LaCroix, also on the commission, also a Pennington County Commissioner. Lloyd, you grew up here in Rapid City. From what you've seen over the years, what is it going to take? What does it take to actually change some of those attitudes that you guys are trying to work over?
Consistency, I think, and buy-in. I think we've got the leadership not only in our city and our community that want to see change. Quite frankly, I've seen from being a kid growing up to right now, the relationships are 100% better. If you look at them back in 1975, I can remember talking to former Mayor Don Barnett. You know, when he was mayor, he said how tough it was in this community. He said you had the Indians and the Cowboys and how tough it was. And I can remember a lot of the protests back in the 70s. And right now, we got so many people that come to the table and want to teach and want to learn. And are we going to get 100%? By all means, no. We're always going to have a small group of people or a section that won't agree with us or say we ain't doing enough or focus on just the problems. But we have come a long ways. We really have. And I always try to focus on that.
Malcolm Chapman is the coordinator of the Human Relations Commission. Malcolm, you've got your group of commissioners. How about the community? How do you want them to get involved with what you're doing? This is not just, I'm assuming, just a commissioner kind of thing?
Not at all. And you asked the question earlier about how do you change minds and hearts, and I think we have to open up the doors and go out to the community and welcome the community, invite the community into these conversations. I think these are hard conversations, and I think the way we lead with this is with our heart. I mean, I really do. I think that we, Lloyd said come to the table, literally come to the table. We've had small group lunches where you bring 8 or 9 different people together just to have conversation over food, and the conversation is organic and it's dynamic. I think that small group is one of the ways that we can bring the community in. We're looking for creative ways as soon as we get further out of the pandemic of bringing people in and having the community play a large part in this. We won't transform this community in terms of race, trust, relationships until the community itself feels that this is their work. This isn't just our work. This is all of our work, the sum of this community, the whole of this community.
How receptive have people been to what you're doing, and how do you try to win people over that are skeptical? I've heard this before. How do you bring those people in?
Well, Lloyd said consistency. I think when you show up, I think that when you invite people in and you commit to them that you're going to work on their behalf and try to solve a problem, that you do that. I think that that's the work that has to be done, and it has to be done over a period of time. It won't happen overnight. It takes time to do this, and that's what our commissioners, that's what I think the City of Rapid City is leaning into. I'm pretty proud of the community for the work that we've done already. This isn't normal work. This partnership, this public-private partnership around building trust is not the norm for communities. Our community is leaning into this, and I think we can set an example for other communities across the country as well.
Hey, Karen, Malcolm talking about some of the changes that have been made so far. What changes have you seen? What success stories have you seen come out of this to this point?
Well, there's one example would be the L&I. The L&I, the Lakota Nation Invitational Basketball Tournament. A few years ago, the board was actually thinking about leaving Rapid City. And so together, not alone, but together with city officials, with the police department, the mayor, with the L&I board, with business people from the community, we came together and said, how can we change this? How can we welcome people? They didn't feel welcome. And so we did a variety of things. We had this red carpet welcome where the police department escorts all the buses of teams into the Civic Center, lights and sirens, and walk down a red carpet and everybody giving everybody a high five. Amazing. We put signs up downtown that say, glad you are here, in both English and Lakota. People don't, it's such a small, seems like such a small thing. I go down to the reservation and they point that out every single time. So they feel welcome, they've committed to staying in Rapid City, and we've developed some amazing friendships. So that's just one example. But when we told them that we were going to do this red carpet welcome, one of the board members said, you used to chase us out of town, and now you're escorting us into town? Whoa, with kind of a tear in his eye. So pretty amazing.
All right, we got to take another break. We'll continue our look at the Rapid City Human Relations Commission when we come back with this month's edition of Focus.
We do have
I'm Jack Caudill. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus, talking about the Rapid City Human Relations Commission. Lloyd LaCroix is a member of that commission, also a Pennington County Commissioner for District 2. Lloyd, before we took the break, talking about some of the success stories, what are the biggest challenges that the commission still faces here in the area?
I think one of the biggest challenges is getting our name out there, getting our organization out there, getting our what we really, our intent is to do. I think a lot of people get confused when you say Human Relations Commission and they automatically think of courts and stuff like that, and we are more of an education and bringing people together and finding solutions, whether there is a legitimate complaint, we'll try and bring them together. But the biggest challenge, I think, is getting the word out there and letting them know who we are and what we are and where we're going.
Karen Mortimer, also a member of the commission. She is the chair. This is not strictly a governmental thing. You said this is a public-private partnership. How does that work?
So the public-private partnership, Malcolm is the public and MOA is really the private. So meaning that the city has invested in this work significantly by hiring Malcolm, holding a space in the city government to do this work, and that's hugely valued. But the private part of the partnership is for us to bring this work into the partnership, but also fund it. And so our challenge has been and is and will be to continue to fund this work because there's lots of things to fund. Bringing people together, paying for sponsorships, bringing just a multitude of things that actually cost money. We believed that the city would invest in this, and it's proven true. We've raised money now for our first year of operating Plus. We couldn't be more grateful to the businesses and organizations in the community who have contributed substantially to this work. And it's because we've been working with them for the last 6-7 years, and it's been actually fun to go out and ask for that investment. And it shows us that Rapid City really does care.
And that's been going well?
Yes, yes.
She says with a smile.
Yes, she says with a smile.
Malcolm Chapman is the coordinator. Lloyd talking a second ago about people if they have complaints, if they have problems. What's that process? If somebody has a situation that they think needs to be resolved, how do they come to you? What happens from there?
So initially, and we're funneling all of those to this office, there's a process whereby an interview would take place. There's a screening tool that I use to get that initial interview out, go through that interview, bring that back to the commission, and then try to mediate. If there's a legitimate discriminatory complaint, then try to bring those parties together to mediate. And as Lloyd said earlier, there's a lot of education that I think needs to go on in this process, and sometimes that's at the heart of it, that there's just been a miseducation and misunderstanding. But however, when there are legitimate complaints, we would run that through this office. If we can't handle it here at a local level, it could go to the Civil Rights Commission, or it could go to the state level for that. Jack, could I go back for just a second? Karen talked about the public-private partnership and raising money. I just wanted to be really clear about none of the money that we're raising as MOA, all of that money stays in the private sector. None of that money comes into the city coffers, so the city will not take that money at the end of the year and put it in the city budget. That money stays separately to do MOA things in the community. Convenings, maybe bringing speakers in for lunches or sponsorships or those sorts of things. The city money is separate. That's a public funding of hiring me, creating that office, that sort of thing. So definitely when our partners are making investments into this, they're making investments into the private, proactive part of this work. I just want to be clear about that.
Now, she's talking about raising money to keep this going for a while longer. What do you envision? What's next? What's in the future for this organization?
I'm an optimist. I wear an optimist button, so Jack, that's probably the wrong question to ask me. I really envision that this work will transform this community, because I think we have people who are dedicated to the work. I think that the city is behind the work. As we continue to grow and raise money and do those sorts of things and bring people together, I think that we're going to open it up where the community feels that this is their work, and we can set a standard for how we should live in community and how we should be in community. Will it be perfect? Of course not, but I think we could do a lot better than we're doing. We formed a series called The More You Know, the Better We Do. And when we know better, collectively, we will do better.
All right, we are just about out of time. If somebody wants to get a hold of you guys, get involved, how do they do that?
My cell number is 605-390-1367, malcolm.chapman@rcgov.org.
All right, we are out of time. Malcolm Chapman, Karen Mortimer, Lloyd LaCroix. I want to thank you guys for being with us. Thank you for joining us. See you again the first Sunday night of next month with another edition of Focus.